I see.
All right. This is another great episode of the Tempo Show. We have a very special guest once again. I'm going to let the young lady introduce herself. Go ahead.
So my name is Taylor Lane.
Mm.
I go by I am Taylor Lane. I am an interior designer in the DMV area, specifically the Bowie area. Glad to be here.
Oh, well, I appreciate you for coming out.
You're
And
welcome.
definitely, and if you check her out on Instagram, I am Taylor Lane, you can see that it's not a game. Like it's like a whole photo shoot. You know what I mean? It's a photo shoot for the houses, for her. Like I thought that you did a great job of like really branding yourself, like and branding what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? That's what basically attracted me. You know what I'm saying, to the page and stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely lit. How long have you been in interior design?
So I've been doing interior design for about like 5 years.
Mm.
If it were up to me, I would say like my entire life, just because I always loved it. But I've been doing it for about 5 years. I've been in the Bowie area for about 2 years, so like that's more the area that I cater to. I'm originally from New Jersey, so
okay.
I started in the Jersey area, and then I came down here to DC, Bowie, PG County area,
Right.
and then I decided to bring the craft down with me.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. What kind of brung you to the DC area?
I came out here for school, so I started out in Baltimore County.
Okay.
And then once I finished school, I moved down to PG County, and I've been down here ever since. So I've actually been in the DMV for like 6 years now. So
okay, how you like it?
I love DC. I do love the PG County area. I love the Bowie area, but it's kind of weird. Like I kind of still want to stick to being like from New Jersey. I still have my New Jersey license plate and my license. Like I can't switch it over. Like I'm just stuck.
Nah, I mean it makes a lot of sense. Especially with like interior design. I'm nowhere near an expert, but one thing I know it's a lot of women that I come across, like they seem very interested in it. But you're the first person I met that actually has jumped out there and actually done. What are some of the difficulties when it comes to getting into that specific field?
I think that's a good question, because there's a lot of different things that are difficult just in general, trying to start your own business. But like with interior design specifically, I would say more proving your credibility. Right. Just because interior design can be very expensive.
Exactly.
It's different, if I'm like styling someone where I can find an outfit for like under $100, but sometimes people are investing thousands of dollars in you. So not only do they have to trust you as a person, they don't even know who you are.
Right.
But then they have to be able to trust putting, $5, $10, $15,000 in your hand and allow you to work with it.
Right.
Somebody like me being young, my sphere of influence is also young. It's the millennials, it's the 30 and under crew, but a lot of them aren't buying houses, or a lot of them can't afford me, to be honest.
Right.
So like they're telling their parents and stuff like that about me, or maybe their older siblings, and they're still like, well, she's young, they want somebody that's probably seasoned, So when I say proving my credibility, it's just like, yeah, I'm young out here, but I'm still doing what I love, and I think I'm good at it, and I hope you think I am too by the time I'm done.
Right. And I've seen kind of, well, I mean, obviously I've looked at the Instagram, and your setups are beautiful. You know what I mean? I'm definitely I'm not in your price range, so that's I'm saying I can't afford you. You know what I'm saying? But so that's why it seems like branding is incredibly important, and like you said, you was talking about building up credibility, like like, so as far as did you kind of like how did you even get like kind of stuck? I know you went to school out here, but how did you kind of build your clientele in the DMV area? Like, because I think that's something that a lot of up and coming people would like to know, because that's the underlying stuff that people don't usually talk about.
Yeah, so I think a lot of it has to do with I had to invest. It's different if I were back in New Jersey. You can call your mom, one of her friends, your auntie or something like that, do something for their house because they may be homeowners. But like out here, I had to just invest a lot of money into marketing. So,
Right.
I'm paying for the advertisements and taking advantage of social media. That's free marketing right there. So I'm watching, trying to figure out what I can do with that. When it came to social media, I would say that was my biggest platform because aesthetics are everything.
Right.
You can't just post anything. You can't just say anything. You want to make your stuff look clean, especially in the beauty, design, like creative kind of industry. That was my main niche, I would say. I did use other platforms like Google Ads and such, but I really had to take that route. And then from there, that's when I was able to figure out, like, okay, what area do I want to cater to? I think some people, I don't want to say they try to do too much.
Well, they don't know what they say. You don't know your demographic. You know what I mean?
Know your demographic.
That's very important.
So you want to know, like, what area do you want to cater to? So that's why I tell people, yeah, I cater to the Bowie area. I'll go anywhere else, but I cater to the Bowie area. So that means my marketing and such was catered to the Bowie area. There's a lot of building and such. And then eventually referrals and stuff started coming in. But essentially, I just started with marketing and investing in that.
No, I mean that's absolutely real, and I think that's important for everybody to know. Like, that's why getting your credit is important, especially if you don't have a lot of cash offhand. Like, if you're talking about starting up a business, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody talks about how they don't want to work for anybody, but I don't think they realize that the reason sometimes the reason you working for somebody is because they paid for all of this. You know what I'm saying? All you got to do is come in and do the work. So like when you was talking about investing in yourself, I know a lot about that. Like, especially when I first started out the podcast thing, like I knew for a fact that if I really, because I wasn't like a real well-known guy, like around, like I knew people, in the neighborhood in high school and stuff, but I wasn't like, well-known across the city. So I knew that if I was really serious about it, that I couldn't just be like, hey, what I'm saying, come over my house, I'm gonna just do my phone like this. So we going, we're going, like, you really have to do the research as well. And the internet has, like, it has all the info. Like, there's so much information on the internet.
So much free information. Right. I just wish more people would take advantage of it.
90% of your time, or a lot of people's time, is just bullshitting around when there's a lot of good information about it. So I did the same thing. Like, when it came to because I guess you got to really think about, like, if you're going to be doing this long term, it's really, if you're going to spend $20,000 on a car, you might as well spend $20,000 on yourself, right?
Exactly.
And that's really important. Like, so I was in the trenches for like 2 months thinking about it. I was like, okay, I just got to jump out there and do it. So I was like, all right, I need cameras, marketing, and then I knew for a fact that, like, because paying for a studio, if I feel like I'm gonna do this every week, they be charging $400 a week. $400 a week times 52, or let's just round it to 50. You talking about what? That's $2,000 right there. Might as well, you know what I'm saying? You might as well just jump out there and invest in yourself. So I think that's really cool. That's really important. So as far as like, one of the biggest questions I was wondering is there a connection between like interior, like the market for interior design and then real estate as well?
You're saying, like, are they similar or?
Well, like, is it dependent on it? Because I would assume that, like, let's say, for example, if you have to kind of, and which kind of makes sense because you're in the Bowie area, which is a lot of moderately priced to high priced homes, and if the real estate market is, I would assume, like, if the real estate market is doing well, then interior design would be doing well because people are buying houses, therefore they would want to get them designed. You know what I'm saying? And and then vice versa, if it isn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, is that something that you have to pay attention to? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually a realtor in New Jersey. My license isn't. So my license isn't. It's in referral right now because I usually only use it to flip houses.
Oh, okay.
But out here, I do try to connect with a lot of the realtors. I may do like moving gifts for their clients, when they close on a home or something like that, like, hey, a free consultation or something, because then that could turn into a new client of mine. But because I was looking at certain areas trying to figure out where I can cater to specifically, I chose Bowie because there is a lot of real estate that's going on now. Whether there's investors in there, Ryan Holmes is and they're building up all those townhome communities.
Yeah, I mean, I know that name.
Family homes.
You just see that sign everywhere, boy. That Ryan Holmes.
Yeah, I'm like overrated, but whatever. The houses are nice, you know, and some people like that. Boom, they build them in like 2 days, and I'm just like, oh, here's a new house, but that may be new money for me at the end of the day, you know. So it doesn't hurt for me to go around there and like put business cards in like mailboxes and such, or like I'm in some of the magazines that are out there. So when they move in, they're getting certain magazines showing them different things in the neighborhood. It's a Bowie lifestyle magazine. So just different things, basic needs that they can meet while they're out here, and then different services if they want them. So to answer your question,
yeah, I mean it kind of makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
It definitely makes sense.
So I don't mean to interrupt you.
No,
you actually, you know, when it comes to your marketing, you physically put boots on the ground. You be, you know, going out here and putting your card.
So when I first started, yeah, absolutely. Like I didn't have a choice, or just, you know, calling people, trying to connect with people.
Right.
Trying to connect with like photographers, trying to connect with like videographers, and to be honest, all this stuff is still going on now, where I'm constantly just like looking for people who are looking for work also, you know, to come and help, you know, and then we all try and help each other out. You feel me? So like there's a lot of connections that I do actually go out there and just take the initiative to make. I don't do as much because of my time, like, you know, some of the physical labor of going out with.
Yeah, because it's really time consuming.
Exactly. At one point, I did have an intern that would help with like some of the online marketing and stuff. Some of the college students and such.
I was thinking about that, but every time, because I drive metro buses and stuff, so that's like I kind of help pay for you know, some of it. And like I was doing I think I forgot what bus I was, the B-22. I guess it goes all the way to Bowie State, then comes back to New Carrollton. And like I started putting up my sign. I was thinking about, I was like, because I see they got like if you go into the little liberal arts, and they always got these little boards where they post little advertisements and stuff. I was like, I just started putting my stuff up there. You know what I'm saying? I had a couple people call me, you know, but I never really ended up getting with the intern, because I be feeling bad to a certain degree, because like I don't really have the money to pay you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And since some of the work that I really be needing done, like I know how to do like the video editing of it, but it's extremely time consuming. Like it's sitting in front of there and chopping, and it's extreme. So I was trying to get somebody else to do that, but at the same time, I don't have the money to really pay you like that. So it's like it's.
But that's why sometimes they know that. And I think they're looking more of the benefit that comes out of it in the long run, you know, as a resume builder. They may need credits for their classes. Like when I was in school, I had to do an internship for credits, you know. So as long as it gets approved by their professor, then, you know, that's just part of their class, you know, part of their tuition. So I wouldn't take it as like you feel bad for them. Now it depends on the amount of hours they're working. Usually it's no more than like 10 hours a week or something like that. Nothing too crazy. But no, I wouldn't feel bad at all. It's just some interns, because like it helps them out, it helps you out, you know. Sometimes they can teach you something, you know. I learn a lot sometimes from people that work with me.
Nah, that's real, you know. And you know, when you was talking about the internships, because I was like, damn, I didn't even think about it, because when I was getting I got my bachelor's in public relations, and that was, I think all of my 400 level courses were basically just internships, just you know, creating marketing plans and then implementing them. Like we was at one particular one was we was at Fayetteville's Special Operations Museum, Airborne and Special Operations Museum, and so we developed a little marketing plan as far as to kind of get the name out there, because it has like old you know, old little airplanes from the 1940s and stuff like that, World War II and stuff. So it's kind of it was a good learning experience, because it was definitely out of my I guess my comfort level, you know what I'm saying, because it was all old white people, you know what I'm saying. That was my base. But then I thought about it, like we set up, we went to the country little radio stations, we promoted. Basically it was like we had this in the front service of the field. We would put down flags, and then if you had a member that served in the military during World War II, Vietnam, or whatever, we'll put their name on this little placard, and then put the flag out there, and then we'll have like a little celebration for it. Okay. So, you know, Yeah, so I mean, Dan, when I think about it, yeah, like the internship part is important. You know what I mean? Because I definitely learned a lot about that. So I'm a definitely
I'll say look into it.
Oh yeah, no,
You
no,
know,
no,
try
yeah,
it
no, no,
again.
definitely, I'm gonna definitely try it again. So when it comes to some of the the transactions that you've went through and kind of like building your business, what was the worst experience you ever had with a client doing your interior design? I
It's a
mean, you don't
good
have to say
question.
names, you know what I'm
Oh
saying?
no 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 no
Yeah,
no. I wouldn't say names. I think the worst, to be honest, the area that I cater to, everybody there is so nice. You know, and it's like, granted, they may like question me at first or something like that. That's anybody that they're bringing into their house, you know, like that's their most intimate setting. You know, they got
Right,
their
right,
kids
right.
running around the house and stuff like that, and they're trying to figure out who this person is.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
Well, I'll
I
say it like this. What was I would say like one of the most challenging?
the
Let's say
most
the most challenging.
challenging I would probably say is just like my clients try to trust me, I try to trust some of the contractors that I bring in. So, you know, with me again not being from this area, you know, I may get a referral from somebody for a contractor or something like that. I had one particular contractor, it's the first time he flaked on me. The day before an installation. So he was supposed to be putting up this wallpaper for me and such. And again, you know, I'm constantly proving myself. You know, they're like, "Oh, you're so sweet. You're so young. You're the same age as my daughter." You know, they do all that whole thing. So now I got to kind of prove myself. So for that to have happened to me, then I found out he was upcharging me. You know, there's just different things that you learn about. You know, you kind of got to do your research.
Right.
You know, I almost got gypped $550 for something that actually, when I called someone else, cost me $200 to get done.
Right.
But you know, things happen for a reason. It wasn't God's plan, because clearly that $550 I didn't end up wasting because he didn't even show up anyway. But the thing is, when you're in situations like that, you got to get it done. You don't gotta get it. You don't have a choice. So, you know, I ended up calling people, figuring it out, and it all worked out. Stuff like that happens all the time, where you may have somebody for an event that doesn't show up, you know, that's supposed to take pictures for you, or that's supposed to, you know, that a very essential role, you know, putting up the wallpaper, finishing this task for me. I can't do that. You know, I need this person, and they didn't show up. I also had another person who tried to run off on me with money.
Right.
Still dealing with that. So you do have situations where, you know, people try not to pay you and stuff. So like contracts and the whole, like, when it comes to like the legal process, when you're dealing with this type of money, you got to make sure you're on your P's and Q's.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think one thing about some of the trials and tribulations you go through when starting up your business, because I think a lot of people think that it's all roses and it's all independence and
people look at my
but
Instagram and they're just like, "Oh, you
you doing your
popping, you this,
thing,
you that," and I'm like, "Girl, if only
man,
you knew I was losing my mind
man,
on this
what?
other
Like
side."
exactly,
But people
man.
just don't know. There's a lot of stuff that's a facade, you know, but there's a lot of work.
Right,
You know,
exactly. And
that
you
goes
have
into it.
to brand yourself. You have to put the good stuff out there, which doesn't. And that's why, like, I'm glad that you came through, because a lot of times especially when I talk to business owners and entrepreneurs, I like getting that information out there that if you really want to do this, then 90% of it is work, and what people see is the
They
little
see
sprinkles on
the
top.
end
Like,
result. You know,
exactly.
they see the pretty stuff.
Right,
You know, they don't see all the work that goes into it. And I think they would appreciate it more.
Yeah, exactly. And
You know,
it'll
seeing
give
that.
you a better look, because understand, like, just like you say, you went through, you know what I'm saying, with people, trying to jip you on money, contractors of that nature. It really lets you know that this is something that you want to do, because you would stand it, and this doesn't deter you from making this your goal, And I've had situations like that as well, like especially. So when it came to like buying equipment and things of that nature, like the only problem about like kind of researching on what's the best camera is that there are a lot of false ads, and like they'll have like little websites that'll tell you oh, the top 10 cameras, but really they're biased because they're being paid by whatever company to put whatever on. Yeah, so it's hard to really you have to really dig deep and look at a different amount of opinions. And so like I had ran through multiple cameras. Like I'm talking about like I had the Canon. At first, I went from the Canon 6i to the Canon 7, then the EO 70D, then the 80D. Then I finally, you know what I'm saying, ended up with the, you know, the Sony and then that one right there. And oh man, like you talk about the frustration, like when it came to like doing the recording, because I'm doing obviously long form interviews, you know, with consistency as far as like the talking and audio. So it's like I didn't even know, like with the cameras only allow you to record 30 minutes at a time if they're specified as a camera based on the international laws that basically to kind of deter competition. Because obviously these cameras, like, it's in reality, do you really need a separation between camera and camcorder? Because they really can do the same things, exactly the same thing.
I'll say you would know best.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, honestly, you could literally make a camera that can record for 2 hours and look something like that and take the same amount of pictures, just adjusting the lens. But in order to, you know, keep competition in the market, they cut it down. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, it was a hard time learning that. And then the worst one was I had like 2 interviews set up, and then my audio box or whatever had just totally tapped out on me, screwed. Like it was just power off, like probably like 2 hours before I was supposed to go through the shows and stuff. And mind you, this is me still on the come up. So, you know, I had, you know, been reaching out. This is when, you know, I had to really put lots of boots on the ground. Like, I mean, nowadays, like, I still do it, but I have a lot more people, you know, calling me up this time. But man, it was hectic. I had I'm trying to remember who I had. I think I had Banner and another comedian coming through. And, you know, one thing that people should know is that, you know, your reputation is everything. Yeah. Especially in like with your business, with mine, you know. I mean, almost with any business. Exactly. Especially if your business is you. You know what I'm saying? So it's important that you be on time as much as possible. It's important that when you say you're gonna do something, you do it. You know, and it had me messed up in the game. So you know, I had to shorten my time frame, breathing all hard, like, what the fuck? So then I was just like, man, you know what, forget it. So I ended up driving all the way out Reston, Virginia, to go to this audio store to buy a whole new audio board. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then come all the way back, and then, you know what I'm saying? Like, run the whole joint. So, man, it ended up working out, and there's a lot of problems that, like, kind of, it's a lot of frustrating things that happen in the middle of the way. I have people that, you know, say they're gonna come through and then they don't show up. Or I put people in time slots, you know what I'm saying? I give it 2 hours, and then you're an hour and a half late, and you don't say nothing to me, then you show up. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not about to cut into that times, and then there's conflicts and stuff like that. So it's a lot of stuff that goes with it, but you know, it's a part of the game, and it lets you know that, you know, when you really want something, you enjoy the grunt work. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll be telling, like, even when I had a couple of rappers on, like, you know, if what you want is to be praised by everybody and make a whole bunch of money, then, you know, that may not be the thing for you.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta love the grunt work of it, as Gary Vanderchuck says. He's one of the, I think he's on Instagram too. He's like a big motivational type.
Really?
Guy. Yeah. He talks about he wants to buy the Jets. Yeah,
I mean, really?
New Jersey. Right?
Yeah,
okay. He's a New Jersey guy. You know what I'm saying? He's like a serious entrepreneur type. The amount of energy he has is just insane. So, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy. But kind of back to you with the business and stuff. Like, how long did it take? And, you know, if I'm getting too personal into it, you know what I'm saying, you don't have to answer. But I would say, how long did it take for your business to be financially viable?
So right now, I would probably say this year.
Right. No,
and, you know, it's still at a point where we're still growing.
Yeah, we're growing. We on that line. We paying some bills.
Exactly.
But, you know.
So the one thing that some people get caught up in are, like, the goals that they set for themselves. You know, it's good to have goals, but you need to have goals within goals sometimes.
Right, exactly.
So, like, to say, like, I've achieved a goal, it would be for me to say, like, now I'm able to have an intern that I can pay and that I can pay well, you know, that because they're coming there, they're helping me out, they're going to the store for me and such. I'm able to do, you know, different collaborations, you know, with other designers. You know, sometimes these houses are like 8,000 square feet, you know, so these houses are really big. You know, I can't do some of that stuff by myself. I can't be climbing up on these ladders by myself. I need like 2-3 people to help me out. So, I'm at that point. But again, there was this one guy that I was talking to, and he was mentioning to me, it takes probably about 2 years after you've quit your job
right.
to really be financially stable and to kind of just start getting things done.
Absolutely.
I
think
ain't
that's
there
a thing
yet.
in business. Like they say that in business, like look, you're gonna be in the red. I think for especially like restaurants and stuff like that, like you're gonna be in the red for the first 5 years.
Yeah.
And you gotta be ready to withstand that.
Exactly.
So
I had a designer who came and helped me out with he was a contractor, I should say, came and helped with the bathroom renovation we were doing. And he was just like, yeah, he was like, you'll be all right. And he was just like, it took him and his father, they had their company together like 5 years profiting.
Right.
To really get where they are, not where I'm at now.
Right.
He was just like, you'll get there, but some people get impatient.
Yeah.
Life changes happen. People start families. There's certain things, but none of that should ever dissuade you, because all that stuff you want to happen too.
Exactly. And if that's really, and that's where you kind of like, sometimes you find out that you don't really want something as much as you thought you did.
Oh yeah.
So like, a lot of times that's why I say like, with people, they really think that, everybody is so funny. I love to promote my people who do clothing lines and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? And we have shout out to Banner, shout out to SKE, the Stop Killing movement. That show comes out today at 8 p.m. But it's incredibly difficult if you look at it from business wise. Like, in order to get like a fashion line, whether you selling shirts or anything else, in order to get that off the ground, it takes a lot of investment, and then you got to get lucky on top of that, And it's like, I don't think people really realize some of the amount of work that goes into it, the amount of money that goes into it, and the amount of luck that kind of comes into it too. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's why I like I said, that's why I like having people on here, is because I think that a lot of these answers was some of the stuff that I was looking for. I think people who are really serious, we be like, I don't want to just like how people give you these surface level answers when you're trying. Hey, so how do you I'd be like, yeah, I asked this one dude. He's kind of a podcaster out here. But I was like, what I'm saying? Hey, when I first I hit him up and asked for his number, and I was like, hey, so how do you start this joint out? He was like, man, you just work hard and you grind and you do what you can do, and what I'm saying, you make it. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
Exactly. I hate when people do that, and then that's why some people get caught up in like following people that they are influenced by on like social medias and stuff to kind of guide them through their entrepreneurial journey. I don't like doing that, like, at all. Sometimes people are very vague. Everything looks perfect. That's what I can't stand about it. And to be honest, for me, I find my influence through other industries. And then kind of just make my own unique way to tie it back to mine. So, for example, I may look at, with interior design, it deals with a lot of colors and textures and, different patterns. But so does the beauty industry. So does the fashion industry. So there may be a fashion designer that I really like, or I may check out New York Fashion Week. Some of those colors and patterns that are on that designer may inspire me for what I'm working on. Also, the music industry is very big for me. So, like, I love music. That's my outlet. So because of music, I'm able to be inspired when it comes to something that I'm working on too. So I think that's a big thing for a lot of people. It's just like, you don't have to follow somebody and be influenced by somebody that's in your industry. Like, you can seek elsewhere. It may be a musician or an artist or somebody that you really love and you really love their personality. So you try to apply that or figure out a way to apply that now into your industry. It'll make you unique. So it'll make you stand out. So that's why you'll see, like, on my Instagram and such, you'll see, like, I love fashion, I love photography, I love, like, other avenues of design, and I try to incorporate that just to show people it's all the same thing, so everybody is capable of being, like, their own designer and making it work, like, for them.
Yeah, I mean, and it's you're right, I think that one of the biggest things for me is just, you also have to like trying to figure out how to articulate this. All right, so I think that the networking aspect, and that's why I think that it's important for people to get an education. You know what I'm saying? I'm not necessarily saying that college has to be the route that you go, because
No.
it doesn't. But what you need to do, what schools need to be teaching people, is to teach people how to learn, how to be able to discern information, so that you can, get the best information out of the things that you need. That's why I kind of hate when people sometimes I be feeling like people aren't taking me serious intellectually when they give me these vague descriptions of whatever it is that I ask them. Like for example, if I ask you, like I'll tell the same thing when it comes to like some of the young boys that used to be around the way selling weed and stuff like that. I'll be like, so how you gonna how you gonna get? Because the first thing they say is we gonna get rich, and I was like, oh, okay, how you gonna get rich? Oh, it's like, so what you gonna do with this? He was like, well, I'm gonna get an ounce and flip. I was like, you gonna just get an ounce and flip? All right. Yeah, you're done. You know what I'm saying? Because
exactly.
you don't even understand, and that's another thing. I don't understand. You wasn't good at math in school, so why do you think that you could sell drugs? You know what I'm saying? Like that part, it doesn't, like, that's on the people who are successful. What people that don't, what the media don't tell you is that these dudes are incredibly smart, like on a genius type of level that can be able to compute large scale numbers and variables in their head without even thinking about it.
And they're constantly learning. Exactly. And to keep it real, there are some people out there that are millionaires, that are financially stable, billionaires, and they're not fucking smart. Yeah, they're just not. They may but the thing is, they know this. They can acknowledge it. And they got other people working for them. That's a fact. And just bringing the money right back.
And sometimes it's not even about you being able, because, intelligence is just kind of
your resources.
Right.
That's taking advantage of it. Who's around you that can help you? A lot of people don't do that. They want to do it all themselves. Like, who's around you that can help you? Or if there's nobody around you, what research can you find? Online, what videos, again, free, what YouTube videos are you watching?
Exactly. How are you getting your information, and how do you make sure that your information is credible? Because that part that's a big thing, because I think that even kind of in our political and social sphere, I think that, like, people think that, and like I said, because schools aren't teaching them how to discern information, and fair enough, like, the internet is a fairly new media and being able to get that information, but they'll read a headline and then they'll assume it as absolute fact. You know what I'm saying? And more than likely, the headline that you're reading is already created in the algorithm to already cater to what you already believe. So, like, if you want to be able, you can't just go on Google and then read the first thing in order to discern what the truth is. You have to do what they do in the college process called peer review. You take, information from one source that's credible, like an EDU or organization. I'm not saying they couldn't, post. That's just your best bet. You know what I'm saying?
Like, you have to find credible sources.
Exactly.
Like, even in school, they would. It's like some people may go to like a Wikipedia. Now, we learned early in school that you're not supposed to use that. So the .edus, the .orgs were some of the things that people would use, because it did show a different form of credibility. But some people may just use that one source. They're not looking at other sources. They're not doing process of elimination. They're not trying to, define their own thought on what they think about a particular topic. They're taking from an article and just running with it.
And that's so trash. Like, I mean, should they teach you when it comes to writing papers? Now, I wasn't that good in math, but one thing I could do is write papers. And what the actual process of writing a paper is the kind of the structure in which you should kind of orient your thoughts and orient your life. You know what I'm saying? You take an outline of the things, of whatever it is you're trying to research, whatever. Let's say it be interior design, right? So, you can ask yourself, based on whatever research that you put on, you can ask yourself 3 questions, and you'll structure it so that, under this question, you'll get a bunch of quotes from other things, and you'll give your own thoughts on it, and you'll be able to kind of discern the opinion. You know what I'm saying? You'll have your introduction and your conclusion, and then at the end you have your works cited. And that's why, I used to hate works cited, like, you know what I'm saying, just because
I can't stand it.
It's so tedious, and but I see why it's incredibly important, because when people, sometimes you'll get in this intellectual vacuum where you're reinforcing your ideas instead of learning. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with our political system, is that like on the divide is so we're just on each side, whether it be
Mhm.
conservative or liberal. It seems that we're just reinforcing our own
Mhm.
ideas, and we're not necessarily getting to the meat of it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Getting to where the truth is, because I mean, most people, especially us black people, I would think a lot of us believe in balance. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And positive energy, negative energy, whether how you believe in that, whatever. But I think everybody kind of sees that as like, balance is real, and it's kind of a positive energy, and negative energy is kind of a universal, truth.
Mhm.
So if that is the case, then if your opinion or whatever information that you're getting seems so far to one particular side,
Mhm.
then it may not be 100% of the truth.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Or there may be something else to it. And I think that the truth usually lies somewhere in the middle. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So I don't know. Like as far as with your business,
Yeah.
do you keep the well, do you keep the politics out of it? Do you ever have do kind of like the politics and social issues ever kind of get into the particular business that you
I
have?
try to keep it out.
Like if somebody
Because
was like, I want a whole Trump design with red and MAGA
oh,
things like,
listen. Wait a
like you know what I mean? Are you gonna
minute.
design that for? Are you gonna get them out the way or what?
First of all, we ain't doing that because it would look tacky. So that's the
Yeah,
first
that
thing.
red is not like
We're not
it's
doing
not
that.
like a
Yeah.
big design type of color. Nah.
Exactly. We ain't doing that. But when it comes just like with conversation and getting to know people and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that, like I try to stay away from those topics.
Mm-hmm.
Usually a lot of the people that I deal with, they're families. So,
Yeah.
the kids are running around talking to the kids,
Mm-hmm.
asking about the schools that they go to because most
Right.
of them go to the schools in the area and
Right.
such. The other thing that I try to keep out sometimes is like religion and such. The only
Yeah.
time that I bring it up is if they bring it up to me. So, for
Mm.
example, like for religion, there's one particular client that I had who was very religious. So she wanted like different quotes and different things to
Mm.
reflect, her religion. And I was like, that's fine. So then
Did she ask you like what your particular thought process, what your religion was that
no,
important to her or?
no, not necessarily.
Okay.
When I see kind of which way they're swaying or if there's something that we have in common, then I'll say something.
Okay.
And then it may spark a certain kind of conversation. There are some people that really want to know who you are, what you do, which family does. They do
Right.
want to know some of that stuff because I guess that makes them feel more comfortable,
Right.
which is cool. And I have no problem sharing because I don't really got nothing to hide.
Mm-hmm.
But they do. It depends on the person. Some of them do ask, some of them don't ask. But usually, I try to keep it to the family.
I got you. I got you. Kind
Yeah.
of a partisan type of idea. That
Yeah.
makes sense. That
Exactly.
makes sense. As far as I'm finding now that maybe a little bit, and this may just because I've kind of been doing a lot more research when it comes to it. I've always been a big history buff, but
Mhm.
politics was never my forte. You know what I'm saying?
Politics sure is not
Dog,
mine.
it's not. It's
Listen.
not. It's a little rough. It's a little rough, but I can't help now after kind of doing my research and being a little bit more involved, hearing dissenting opinions. I can't help but develop some of my own,
Mhm.
and they don't necessarily match. Like I'm definitely not a conservative, although you know what I'm saying? And I think that if you put all my ideas together, I definitely lean more liberal. But I
Mhm.
don't necessarily agree with everything that liberals agree with per
Mhm.
se.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Just like libertarians and some of the other groups. And I find that on different sides of the aisle, like sometimes it's hard to even have it, even with my family.
Mhm.
Like with my mom. Sometimes like my mom is incredibly smart. Like she
Mhm.
works she's like a high level works for the government,
Okay.
and she's a big school, schooling masters and all that, you know what
Good
I'm
for
saying? So
her.
she's very very articulate.
Mhm.
Now one thing about it though is that like I think that and that's what kind of taught me I can't really come up in I can't it's hard for me to have a viewpoint if I don't research it and back it up, because she's
Yeah.
gonna chop you down
Yeah.
quick as like
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying, and make you look dumb. You know what I'm saying? But one of the problems that I do see sometimes, not only with my family but kind of with the social atmosphere now, is that it's like if I can't just have a particular opinion on one particular subject. It seems that if I have an opinion on this subject, then you get lumped into the category of other people who have that similar opinion. For example, if I feel a certain way about immigration, right? Like I could just and nowadays I could just like do we believe that there should be borders around the country? If I just say that, then if I just say yes, I think that just seems like a good idea. Now, if we go into the details of how we should do that, that's a different conversation. But I do think that we should have borders. Then it's like, all right, well, you just think like, what I'm saying? A lot of times, well, you just think that Mexicans should be sent off, and you just think you with Trump and you want to build a wall. And I think that the conversations are a lot more nuanced when it comes to that. And I think that one of the biggest things for me is just like once I started really doing, and that was probably in the last like 4 or 5 years. Once I started like not just bullshit listening to reading articles online, but once I really started like reading books and I'll read liberals like you got Tim Wise, and then other ones. I'll read conservatives like Ben Shapiro, and once I really started reading, learning more about subjects, the more I realized that I don't know what the fuck. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
the answers, shit is a lot more complicated than we think it is, and I think that it makes us feel better when we feel like we know something, like we know what the answer is, but I don't think that's the case all the time. So I just think that sometimes, it helps to have an open mind. And like you were talking about earlier, like, how can you really learn from people? You know what I'm saying? If you already think that you're right about everything, so that makes a lot of sense. You know what I'm saying? Like that whole still like there. See, now sometimes on this podcast and stuff, I can go on rants, what I'm saying?
You're good.
Like that's fine. You can talk to all my friends, like what I'm saying. I would talk your goddamn head off.
They over there laughing right now.
Yeah, they in the background laughing at me, but no, it's all good. So, what are some of the future endeavors that you have when it comes to the interior design? Like, what are some of your next steps that you're doing?
So just one thing that's pretty local that's going on right now. Next weekend, we're doing a shelter makeover. I don't know if you saw that on my social media. There's actually a shelter that's right over here in Northeast that houses women who suffer from domestic violence.
Okay.
So we're doing a room makeover for them and such. Donations.
Is it an actual house, or is it like, because I know a lot of the shelters ever since they closed down DC General and a lot of other ones, like they're basically turning hotels into shelters now.
So I think with this area, and let me know if I'm wrong, but I know with Northeast there's like a lot of like industrial buildings and such. I feel like there's something that was converted into that. To answer your question, I have not been there. And then just for like certain security reasons and such, they don't give out the address unless people are like volunteering.
You're actually right. You're right about that particular point. I just know, only reason I said that was because I know like if you go down New York Avenue, you could go with you can go Holiday Inn, you can go the Days Inn, You talk about 5 straight hotels that you can't even get a room into because they've converted them strictly into homeless type of shelters.
It's a big need, and that's the route that I see myself going. So that's why I'm excited for this project, to take place next weekend, because it'll be like the first project to really tap in to what I want to do. I didn't mention this, but I went to school for criminal justice and psychology. So I have like a legal background. I was working with Homeland Security and such. And it was a little too sterile for me. Like I like more of the psychological aspect of it.
I'm big on
a lot of like the social issues and such. And a very big topic of mine is the justice system.
Right.
Providing different housing and such for those who are just getting out of the system,
right?
Or in a situation like this, women who are suffering, getting them out of this current situation that they're in.
Right.
They talk about recidivism rates and such, people reverting back to wherever they came from, trying to prevent that from happening again. I think the basis of somebody and what their potential comes from their home. So even what their home looks like, the quality of what's given to them,
right?
It does affect your psyche.
It really does, and obviously it's a lot more complicated. I would say, just I do like I think I seen Kamala Harris. She's definitely gonna run in 2020 for president. Smart woman coming out of California. I believe she's the governor, I believe she's the governor. I might be wrong. Don't kill me. But she said she was a state attorney. And she said that, one of the reasons why I loved her quote, because she doesn't, some people say that they talk so much shit about the justice system as if we just need to abolish it altogether. That doesn't make sense. She was one of the biggest things she was saying is just like, you know, we need to have smart justice. You know what I'm saying? We need to have, justice reform that makes a big difference. So she had programs set up in California where these young men, they could once they get out of jail, they could go through this program where they're learning life skills and things of that nature, and then they would have their record expunged after that if they completed the program successfully. So what you're doing is you're lowering the chance that they would go back and repeat the same crimes, because those are the people that end up in jail, people who are repeat offenders and stuff like that. So that definitely, the justice system is it definitely does need reform. And to kind of go to your point where you were talking about like having the home, like what your home looks like kind of determines how you value it, you know what I'm saying? And kind of it plays into how you value yourself in a little way. Yeah. And I think that, that definitely makes sense. But what I would say though is that, there are a lot of I think that, obviously it's going to take a lot more than that, because there needs to be a whole, in my opinion, especially in my community, I would say there needs to be a whole perspective change on and outlooks on life. You know what I'm saying? Because, and I seen it, you know what I'm saying? Like, like these two guys right here, they grew up in the heart of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they seen that, like a lot of times you can go down Southeast and they tore down all these, like, yeah, that's the man. He just put it. That's my man Joe. Hey, hardest Southeast right here. We call him Southeast Joe Bogus, but he bogus. That's why he be bogus all the time. But yeah, he nah, but like you'll see like they've rebuilt the entire, like they made them into little townhomes. Although you can still see that it hasn't made a considerable change on the.
I was gonna say, are they putting the people back in them though?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay.
These are actually, if you go down Alabama Avenue, if I'm not mistaken, down there by the Giant, all those houses are either Section 8 or low income. But I think that most of them joints are Section 8. Period. Yeah, most of them are Section 8. But you don't really see it. You don't see it, and I've looked up the crime statistics. You don't see a change in the crime. You know, in the crime rate. Actually, it's increased. It's increased this year. You know what I'm saying? And then you don't see, like, you can just kind of look over there, and you don't really see a change in culture. So that's one of the biggest arguments against the money that's to be put into, let's say, helping out communities. I think that we invest them in, we can invest them better than just providing people homes and things of that nature. Because, all right, so, and mind you, like, let me say this very carefully. You know what I'm saying? I think that I don't disagree with creating systems and programs that allow people to have a home. The only problem with it is that we understand that over the course of time, that's not going to be sustainable, right? That's a socialistic program that they are actively, you talk about, they cut HUD in half. You know what I'm saying? Like for housing and urban development, they cut it in half. Like that's almost unprecedented. You know what I'm saying? So the money eventually is not going, unless there's some drastic reform, it's not going to be sustainable to help out. I mean, to be able to offer these services. And then we see over the course of the last 20, 30 years that it doesn't even providing welfare, TANF, food stamps, things of these nature, which obviously weren't even designed for black people, right? It was really designed for white people during the Great Depression and in the Midwest, because there were no jobs there, point blank period, and they wanted to keep people in the state, but whatever. So we see that it doesn't bring people out of poverty. Like these programs, Section 8, there is the statistics are in, and it doesn't. People who are usually in a particular tax bracket don't elevate themselves. You know what I'm saying? What you do see is that people who weren't in TANF and weren't in these government programs, those were the people that kind of moved from the middle class to the upper middle class and things of that nature. Now, what does that say? It's hard to say. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there are multiple different areas. I mean, there's multiple different explanations for it, and it could just be incentive and things of that nature. But I don't know. I think I'm kind of big on. I think that we should be focusing more on, number one, giving these young kids something to do. You know what I'm saying? Like they need. We can't just be out here. Don't give them. We took away the rec centers. The rec centers are here, but like mind you, you still gotta pay for shit. You know, back in the day, I don't know how it was in New Jersey, but all that stuff was free. Like you could just join the football team. You just lived in the neighborhood. You join the football team. You on it.
Yeah.
You know, so all these programs were free, and those were the ones that were really making a positive effect into the community. You know, so
I think everyone has their thing. You know.
Yeah.
So, for example, like that may be your passion, you know, and the route that you go. I think everybody has their thing, and collectively we can change the community.
Absolutely.
So, for example, in that area in Southeast, they may have taken down one of those rec centers. You know, that may be your job. My job may be to help with the rebuilding of some of these, you know, apartment communities. You know, they're infested. You know, people just don't take pride in it. They're embarrassed. You know. Then you have some people who may help, because a lot of the issues are with people that come from some of those areas. There's nothing that they were able to feel appreciated about. So something they don't think they're worthy of something like that.
Right.
You know, so some of the acts are just instilled, you know, to kind of hate, to kind of find negativity in something.
Right.
And that takes sometimes generations. I mean, just even like some people like Black Americans, for example, you know, I talk about this pretty often. I'm like, we're just post-segregation. We're just pro-slavery, you know, just thinking about it, like our parents' generation probably either were in that or just missed that. So there's a lot of healing. There's a lot of things post that. And, you know, now we're looking at 30 years later, at this point, 40, 50 years later, and there's still things that we got to figure out for ourselves, you know? So it's just going to be like an ongoing issue of certain things in certain cities. If for so long it's been deemed something like as like a negative environment, I think it's just something that's going to take some time. But if each person, they find their passion, what they're good at, you know, there may be somebody in that same neighborhood where you're working on, you know, building the rec centers, I'm working on the houses. There may be some people who are trying to help a lot of the homeless people out there. A lot of the homeless people have some type of mental disability, you know. That's why a lot of them end up out there. That's a big thing when it comes to the justice system. Also, a lot of people are recidivating because they are homeless. They don't got nowhere to go, so they just gonna go right back to prison. You know, so there's a lot of different avenues in which people can actually help. I don't think we should necessarily prioritize what gets done first. It's just a matter of just doing it. Whatever you're good at, just go ahead and do it.
Right. And you know, on a scale, it's when you say that, you know, it definitely that makes sense to me, as far as like, I mean, number one, we should create values within. Everybody should kind of adhere to the certain values that, number one, you have the responsibility to take care of yourself, to be as honest and as good a person as you possibly could be.
And as simple as that sounds, a lot of people don't know that.
Oh man, like,
you know, a lot
I'm
of people
31
don't know
years old, and I feel like this is the best version of me that I've ever been. You know what I'm saying? And I could tell you, like Tim at 25, you know, even graduated from college and all of that. Like I wasn't what I should have been. You know what I'm saying? And that's fine. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it takes us a while. You know what I'm saying? To kind of figure things out. But yes, it's kind of cliche, but that's one of the biggest things that I think we all should focus on. So bam, first you gotta, you know, figure out yourself, make sure that you care about yourself, and that, you know, don't be afraid to go, you know what I'm saying, go to therapy, talk about your problems, things of that nature, whether you're male or female, you know what I'm saying? Focus on yourself. Then you also have an obligation to your family, you know what I'm saying? Whether it be, you know, especially your children, really your children, you know what I'm saying? So when you have a child like that, you have an obligation to them, you know what I'm saying, off the strength of, you know what I'm saying, they didn't ask to be here, you know what I'm saying? And then you also have an obligation to your community too, you know, and it kind of goes in that order, you know, but as you establish your life and you take on responsibility, that doesn't mean just, you know, blaming other, you know what I'm saying? Like the whole thing of blaming other people on your situation. Look, we understand life is suffering, whether you're black, white, Asian, whatever. Like, all the religions pretty much are in a consensus that life is pretty rough. It's rough, and it's rough for everybody, no matter whether you're rich or whether you're poor. Like, life is difficult to navigate.
And everybody has their own classification.
Right.
Of what rough is.
Yeah.
Also. doesn't mean you shouldn't, like, you know, some people, a lot of people, I should say, get stuck on comparing.
Yeah.
You know, like, I've been through this, you ain't go through that. So, but everybody has their own level of what's considered tough for them. So you should never, like, judge or never hold anyone against that. It's just a matter of, like, moving forward, trying to figure out how to heal. A lot of people have different coping mechanisms. Some of them aren't always the best, some are good. But you know, mental health has been, like, a really big thing now. For a lot of people in the area, you know, because a lot of these struggles that people go through, which I think is a whole different topic. To be honest,
it is. But you know, to kind of on a positive note, look, number one, like, I mean, if we just look at some of the statistics, like, look, Black people are in a, like, I like focusing on the positivity, right? So there are negative things that are going on in this world, and you know, we have to address them. But you know, there's never been as many wealthy people, wealthy Black Americans that in the course of history. We've never been this economically valuable. I mean, whatever. You know what I'm saying? This we've been at this economic stage, and we've also one of the biggest things is that we are now in positions of power in which we've never been as well. So, you know, I think that's a positive outlook towards the future, you know. And
that's a positive outlook towards the future. One thing that people should definitely keep in mind is, like, don't let that clout make you selfish.
Right.
Because, like you mentioned, just kind of like putting back into your community or something like that. You know, there's some people, again, I do like to put, like, positive spins on things, you know, like there's more Black businesses that are opening up, particularly with, like, Black women, but are we investing in them? You know, are we investing in some of these, you know, mom and pops? Are we, you know, helping and buying from these clothing lines? Are we hiring these designers? Or, you know, like, what are we doing to help out our people?
And we should definitely focus on that. And I would say that we kind of are, man. Look. I think that if we look around, we got to give ourselves pats on the back as well, because, like, look, you got, like, you know, the creator of Eat. You know what I'm saying? That's a young Black brother. You know what I'm saying, that grew up in the D.C. area, and he's, you know what I'm saying, he has the support. It seems like he has the support of everybody that's around. You see everybody. Like, I got the shorts. You know what I'm saying, and everybody's real supportive of that. And I can even say this, like, look. One thing, you know how we always talk about, like, sometimes we're crabs in the barrel, and to a degree, that is true. It is true. But I can say this, like, since I think that a lot of times people sometimes confuse people not helping them as them hating on them when you just haven't put in the work. You know what I'm saying?
And that's different.
Most of the people that I've, like, I can tell you like this, 80% of the people that I've reached out to have reached out back and came on the show and introduced me to other people. And that's really how this whole thing even got started. Like, I put a lot of work and a lot of money into it, and I put my whole ass into this shit. And so and I knew I had to do that before I started extending my hand and saying, you know, could you come on and things of that nature. And look, like, you over here, you got 10,000 plus followers, and you know, you out here doing big things in the interior design. And you know, I just hit you up, you know what I'm saying, and you know, I seen your page, and I thought that, you know, I thought that was real, not only interesting, but it was unusual for me to see that, because I know usually every time I see, you know, when I look at some of the business pages, they either selling hair or they're, you know, doing some type of clothing or whatever the case may be. So when I seen it, I thought that was real cool. It was real different. And you know, you was just like off the strength. You was like, oh, you know, yeah, sure. Now, you know, I had to hit you up a couple more times. Like, you know, this wasn't a one-time thing. Like, I know, and I completely understand that. Like, you know what I'm saying. So, but like I said, you came through off the strength. You know what I'm saying, and that's that right there reinforces the fact that I see, you know, it's a lot of positive people out here working hard, and we coming together, man. I can see, like, man, with whether it be the comedians, and I get to see it from all worlds, because I'm not just in, you know what I'm saying, like, I've had comedians on here, business owners, like, what's her name, Goddess of Enlightenment. She got like 100,000 interviews. She's doing really well with her business. She came on. I had producers, few rappers, because like, you know, their conversation be trash sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So, no, but a lot of the dudes I've talked to, all the people I've talked to have been great. But like, you know, like, it's rough. But like, nevertheless, I'm seeing that, like, there is this community of people that work hard. You know what I'm saying? and we're gravitating towards each other, and I think that's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? It's a great outlook, and man, we're I just think, man, 2018. You know what I'm saying? This is the best year. This is the best time to be alive, and let's focus on positivity while trying to mitigate as much negativity as we can.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for it.
Yeah,
I just see a lot with our generation, but to be honest, I see a lot with the generation underneath of us. Those kids are bold,
Not
There's some bold kids, and it's just like, and I want them to use that. Don't be afraid. You're saying like, oh, they don't give a fuck, but I want them to be able to transform that once they grow and kind of build their identity to try and figure out, okay, how can I use this attitude to maneuver and like grow throughout life. Like I love it. Like I love seeing what they do. So yeah, for all of them or whatever these parents are doing, I'm just like, keep it up. I see something different in some of these kids, these teenagers, their voices, they're very open-minded, they're very opinionated.
Yeah, they are. And I do think that we also need to it's great. We need to inspire the kids, and they need to be out there jumping out there. But then the kids also need to understand that you don't know nothing yet. You know what I'm saying? Like keep that drive and have that ability. Be free to learn. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that's really important.
I think some of them do get stuck where they're forced to learn too. The way social media is, everything is just put out there. Kids know how to maneuver and work phones at like 4 years old.
Yeah.
So it's just like, how do we there's different like parental controls and passcodes and things, but it just seems like things are so just out there now. Where we're teaching our kids at an earlier age.
Yeah, and they're learning learning a lot more about the world than we ever did. You know?
Exactly.
So there's pros and cons to that. So we gotta be careful, and we gotta be supportive, and especially for me and the young men. Like I think that like one of the biggest things that was the problem, I would say, is that a lot of like the older generation, and there may be multiple reasons for that, but we got to reach our hand out to these young kids, these young boys. You know what I'm saying? And because as men, we look up to each other. You know what I'm saying? We look up to the kid, to the dude that's 6 years older than us with the car and things of that nature. So it's important that we spread that positive message and stuff. So that joint, man. Look, I done had you out here. We done ran over an hour and 15.
We did.
I mean, look, we is all good. No, you're excellent. Like I ain't mean to keep you too long.
No,
you know what
you're
I'm saying?
fine.
Now, you definitely I love conversations like these, because I think that the route to progression, true progression, and the equality that we're really trying to achieve lies in being able to have nuanced and balanced conversations. You know what I'm saying? Especially between, like, I think what's most important, like, don't get me wrong, like, I believe in, all races and everything else, everybody should be good, but especially within our community, black men, you know what I'm saying, having conversations with black women, you know what I'm saying, and vice versa, where, we could kind of express our opinions, and, it's fruitful, you know what I mean? And I'm not jumping out the box. Like, I can disagree with some of the ways that you may want to approach, certain situations as far as, certain issues, and you can disagree with me, but I think that what's important is that we recognize that, look, the goal is progression and positive outcomes for the next generation, you know what I'm saying? And not only that, but just overall good things for our relationships and our community as a whole. And so how we get to that is just going to be through how we figure out everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got an opinion, they got an opinion. Let's try to bring it together and see if it works. You know what I'm saying?
Effective communication.
Right. And I don't like one thing I could say is that the way I've been able, I don't think I'm that smart, but one thing I do think that I'm pretty decent at is kind of recognizing people's intentions, and I think that one of the tools that I think that are very helpful when it comes to recognizing people's intentions, especially like, if you're interacting with somebody, is that, if they're preaching positivity as the mechanism in which they're going to achieve their goals, or they're trying to convince you of something, then that's generally all right. But if they're using negativity to try to reinforce their point, or bring or somehow negativity is going to equal out into this positive state. I think that right there is either they're wildly confused or they're a charlatan of some sorts or manipulative. For example, I would say, for example, like let's say this is why I don't like when we bash each other, like especially on social media, when it comes to like relationships and things of that nature. Because look, we recognize that like look, we have a history of just just a tragic history of being oppressed and going through a whole lot of shit when it comes to our relationships and black men and women, what I'm saying, in America. So the blaming and the negative posts and things of that nature is not going to help anybody, and I'm really not a fan of that. And anybody who promotes that is, to me, either they are so hurt that they can't see their own hypocrisy, or they're purposely manipulative. You know what I'm saying? So we have like people like golly, what's the dude name? I think it's like Derek Jackson or something like that. Him and others like him will what they'll do is he's kind of a big Instagram figure, attractive dude, dark skin, whatever the case may be, and
all be preaching for about the women.
Yeah, you be hearing him be like, see, and y'all need to get off the goddamn couch, and y'all probably don't even got no money to take her to whatever she eating at and all this stuff. And I'll be like, so your idea, and I actually had a debate with my friend, which I'll think about. It was a couple other things that happened to us, so I'll think about it if I'm gonna release it. But we was having a debate about the men ain't shit, and I'm gonna kind of get your opinion on this. So the whole idea of men ain't shit. Hey Monte, how much time we got on that camera? How much time we got? Oh, all right, don't hit it. All right, we good. I think we got at least like 15 left. But anyway, so the thing about, like, we hear that we've all heard men ain't shit, right? You know what I'm saying? And I think that is a crazy derogatory term that I don't think that we should be spreading. I think that's just a derogatory term as fucking, faggot or whatever, or any other thing, because it implies it's a statement of supposed fact, right? There is no, some men ain't shit because of these reasons. It's just a statement. And so we were arguing about it because I heard him put that stuff on his Facebook. And so I was like, well, how on earth is that how is that going to lead to anything other than negativity? He was like, well, what I'm trying to do is, and that's my man, but I'm gonna try to steel man his point. He was saying that he says it in order to bring start the conversation of how men should start taking responsibility for some of the negative things that we contribute to relationships and things in general. And I just was like, I don't know. I think that's bullshit. I just think that I don't think that you're trying to foster, and I kept it a buck. Like, I don't think that you're trying to foster anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm good. I'm sober October over here for me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, sober October.
I'm going to Miami tomorrow, so I'm having it over here.
Yeah, exactly. Nah, respect. I was like, shit, if I don't do it now, I ain't gonna do it. So,
listen,
you know what I'm saying?
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it happen. But yeah, so I'm like I don't, like, bruh, like no, you're not. No, you're not. You like, what you're doing is you're making jokes, and you have like a more of a what do you call it? Most of his followers are female, you know what I'm saying? So you're I feel like you're pandering to the audience. You know what I mean?
The question I have, sorry to cut you off, but I just want to ask before I forget. Would he describe to you, did he mention that like in his caption at all? Was there anything to kind of pose his point of view, or was it just?
Well, he was
because he said he was doing it to kind of spark conversation, but did he post like what people mostly say and then his interpretation of it?
No. What it was actually kind of like it was one of those regular. Don't get me wrong. I kind of jumped on top of him. You know what I'm saying? It was like one of those regular posts where it's like, how do you say? It was, and if I'm not, it was something like when a dude put his phone down like this, you already know he's cheating, or something like, them little memes and stuff like that. It was one of the joints like this, and he was like, yeah, because men ain't shit, or something like that. He was saying, I was like, see, I was like, son, that's trash, bro.
I don't like, to answer your question, I don't like negative reinforcement.
Right.
And there's one conversation that I had with a lot of people about like speaking certain things into existence.
Right.
And you know, like I may joke around with my friends because it is like a saying where you're just like, you know, niggas ain't shit, you know, but you're just laughing. You kind of joke it off or something like that. But that's one thing that I can't hold on to. You know, that's one thing that I try to tell people, like, you can't hold on to that statement and you're just waiting for them to be an ain't shit nigga. Like, you're just speaking it, you're speaking it into existence. And, you know, the same thing when it comes to, like, you know, women or men where they're just like, oh, they probably going to cheat anyway or something like okay, they are going to end up cheating because you keep saying they're going to cheat. Like, it's just going to, it's going to end up happening. But the reason I asked about what his caption was like is because I had a very similar situation. It was different, but someone I know had posted, a very good friend of mine, he had posted something, he's African, about the divide between Americans and Africans, Black Americans, of course. And he was saying, you know, about the idea of appropriation with Americans now wanting to accept Africans when back in the day we was calling them like African booty scratchers and shit like that. And like
Fair enough. That was a thing.
That was a thing, but and then on my side I'm just like, so what's your opinion on it? Why did you post this? I'm like, you see that we're now in 2018. You see us kind of mending together. Why bring that back up?
Right.
Why take those steps back? And his same exact comment was, I was just trying to spark conversation. I was like, but in your comments, did you explain yourself? Like, I'm glad we're not at this point anymore. People that have this perception look at it like this. We were forced to kind of think and hate ourselves and think these were African booty scratchers over here or some shit like that. Like, that's how we were taught. Like, that's what we thought. And I'm like, we were forced to like hate ourselves. And I'm like, so now we're having this revelation. We're like, who are these people? And, you know, we're like, oh, they the same as us. You know, they're dope. Like, let's try and learn from them. You know, we're trying to gain our culture. We're trying to learn from y'all. And then to bring that up as like appropriation, I didn't really like that comment, and I never did. But again, he was like, oh, I was just using it to spark conversation. But I'm like, how about we embrace it? How about we accept it and kind of all come together as West Indians and Americans and as Africans and kind of, you know, build and define a culture in America. Because regardless, we all niggas at the end of the day in America.
Well, exactly. Like, you know, and that like that right there, and you know, I just be trying to call it out. The way I look at it is, you're not being
it's not productive.
You're being intellectual. To me, you're being intellectually dishonest. That's what you are. You're saying that you was trying to spark conversation. No, you wasn't. Not because all right. So then if you're saying that that's how you spark conversation, then you got to show me some other example. And then, you know, like afterwards examples, right? Of how you were trying to do that.
Or something like that. Like you do like on the flip side or something like that.
Because if I ain't say nothing, you would have just let that ride. And that wouldn't that wasn't you trying. And that's what I was saying with him. Like, you're not trying to spark conversation. Like, you're just repeating it because either you agree with it or you thought it was funny. And don't get me wrong, I still be saying, you know, bitches from time to time. And I know that's not, you know,
exactly.
Right, you know what I'm saying? I'd be like, hey, you guys are bitches tonight, cuz, you know what I'm saying? Like, I still,
exactly.
But I know that it's wrong, and I'm trying to help out. You know what I'm saying?
But that's like how we reinforce the word nigga. It's just like, technically, it ain't right, but it's like we've kind of, you know, it's just.
Yeah, sometimes some certain things become, they're kind of just, they come a part of language. You know
and it becomes a part of like culture. And again, like if you're joking around and you say like, oh, you ain't shit or something, or you one of them niggas that ain't, you know, like.
You got to take it to, it's like certain levels of it. You know what I'm saying? Certain levels. And to, and that doesn't mean that, you know, even though we say it, like, let's try to get that out of our system. You know what I'm saying? Even though we do say it sometimes, and we're human, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get that narrative out of the language. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially now, nigga is like one of those joints where we're still kind of debating on it. But I would say men ain't shit. Yeah, I mean, look, like, it is what it is. But men ain't shit. That right there is, I think that it's actually detrimental because I see every day young men who internalize it. You know what I'm saying? They really do.
Fresh. It's way too fresh.
Bruh, like, it's like I see the trouble that it comes with that shit. So I'm just like, you know, oh man, that shit is just ridiculous. All right, so I've been wanting to ask a girl this. All right. So what you think about the Kavanaugh hearings and things of that nature?
I had a feeling. I was like, I'm going to come up in here. They going to ask me about this shit.
I mean, look, I was like, I was like, look, we jump from politics to politics,
Okay. So to answer your question, again, I hate fucking politics. I do.
Right.
I really do. He I'm still trying to figure out what's going on, to be honest, because I don't even be watching news like that.
Right,
I think
exactly.
I'm trying. I was like, look, did he rape her? I heard he ain't rape her.
No, see, this is the thing.
And then, so what happened?
So this is how now, I listen to both, and this is how I've kind of gained my opinion, because I've listened. You can't help but, like, you watch NBC and CNN, you're going to get the liberal side all day long. You know what I'm saying? So I get that he's this evil Adolf Hitler, racist, Bill Cosby, Superman. You know what I'm saying? But so then I listen to the conservative side of the argument as well, with like some of the Ben Shapiro show and Steven Crowder and things of that nature. And from what I understand, the facts is that, this claim happened 35 years ago.
She was like 15 or something like that.
Yeah, she was 15. She named multiple people in the room. So the thing about it is that, like, for you to be able to, I mean, you could kind of see, why would somebody, if you were just making it up, why would you place other people in the room that could possibly disagree with you? Because they're not your friends. And so, but then when she named these people, all of the people that she brought to all of them refuted what she was saying. Like, they wasn't calling her a liar, but they just said they don't recall, which is probably fair if she didn't mention it to them, and it's 35 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So that joint is like, and then, all right, so then on top of that, now it came out that she is a what do you call it? She is an expert, because remember, she took a lie detector test, and so then, like, I guess she actually used to practice with people on how to beat lie detector tests. This is the reason why we can't use them in the criminal justice.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, I think the big thing is that, like, the big point on that is, I just think that, look, I don't even like the nigga. Like, he was the same dude that was in the Bill Clinton era when, everybody was jumping on top of him. He was the main dude out there. And my whole thing is that I just think that the idea that somebody should be innocent and until proven guilty, whether it's in the court of law or the court of public opinion, I think that is crucial, and we should stick to that. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, like I said, I like, if my sister was to walk in here, she would be like, "See, that's what I'm talking about, because you just think that ain't all these women lying and this and that." And I was like, I'm not saying that she lying. I don't know. I have no idea what happened. I wasn't there. Yeah. I don't even have all the information. Like,
exactly.
But
because I definitely would never say that somebody is lying in a situation like that. But, like, my take on it, I'm like, let's just fully investigate it. Right. I think for me, because I do take more of a psychological approach to certain things, I think it's more of Trump's approach to the situation that I don't like. I don't think he's taking a very professional approach with it. He's taking a very biased approach, when does he take the professional approach? I was like, that's him in nature. Yeah, that's him in nature. So I think that's the side that's making me be like, okay. Right. I'm like, what is going on?
And it definitely polarizes the situation, because it's like, it almost deters you from looking at it objectively, because
exactly
it's like he'll come in and he'll say some shit like, yeah, that bitch, not saying like that, but basically, you know what I'm saying? And the what's the name, and the Democrats would be like, he's an evil, we should believe every single woman that ever says anything about rape. And you're like, and I'm like, I don't agree with that either. You know what I'm saying? I think that, like, this is the reason why we have a justice system, because just like you said, you understand, you know what I'm saying, you kind of delve into psychology, and we know for a fact that people lie, right? You know what I'm saying? For a multitude of reasons. Like, certain people, like the people that, and we see in social media, like, the reward of attention is something that people value very deeply. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes even deeper than a level of money. You know what I'm saying? So, however people tend to get that attention, I think that it's we got to be careful. And especially, this is the part that I don't understand. I don't understand why black people is so quick to jump on this dude, when us black men have historically, man, we've historically been victims of fucking women lying to us and things of that. I mean, not women lying to us, but white women lying on us about us touching them or raping them or things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? So we should be sensitive to that subject. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's I don't know. I think that we should just kind of always reserve our opinions till we have all the information.
Yeah, that's what I think. I'm just waiting,
Right.
for to see.
But to be honest, I don't really give a shit for real. Either way that it goes, I mean, what the fuck,
like I said, I don't like politics. So
right, exactly. Like, let's focus on this business.
Itself. But I'm like, just let me know what's going on.
Exactly.
That's when I call my mom, ask her. I'm like, who you voting for?
Right?
Like, why?
Yeah, I don't even know if I'm having that conversation in my house. But look, I want to appreciate you for coming through. We got to bounce into multiple different topics that I didn't think we was going to get into, so I appreciate that. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
On Instagram, I am Taylor Lane. You could look up the other ones. Internal Sentiments is the name of my business. You can go directly to my website, www.internalsentiments.com. And yeah,
that'll do
like my stuff. Hopefully I'm fun enough for you. I don't know.
I mean,
whatever.
Like I could tell you, the Instagram page, if it's not anything else, it looks good. You know what I mean?
That's all I try to do.
There you go. It looks very, very pleasing to the eyes, I would say. But I want to thank the beautiful Taylor Lane for coming through.
Thank you.
This was another great episode of the Tempo Show, man. We're gonna holla at you. All right, DMV.